Don't question the cocktail. That could be any number of movie titles, including one of the stars of this film, who would later on go on to do cocktails. Anyway, welcome everyone to the spoiler room. How are we tonight? And there we go. There's the lag. There it is, right there. Already.
Shall I turn off my camera and try this anonymous style?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay.
Try it anonymous style, and we'll see what happens here. Of why it lags with Ian.
I don't know.
I don't get it. I'm not sure why it doesn't like you. But anyway, here we are, everyone. Welcome to the spoiler room. I am Mark the Movie Man, and yes, tonight is the last episode of the horror of 1988. I know. It's bittersweet ending. It's been a long run. It's been an interesting run. And I have some wonderful guests, some wonderful crew members here tonight to discuss this interesting entry into the summer camp, cheerleader camp horror genre. And you hear her wonderful laugh. She is back with us once again. It's the Angelique Bone is with us tonight to talk some cheerleaders. How are you doing, Angelique?
I'm doing great. We just need to do it again. Do it again. Harder.
Do it again. Harder. And that groan you heard, that dulcet tone of groan, is none other than my right-hand man. And hopefully he doesn't lag out too much today. Or he may just act like he's lagging out because he doesn't want to talk about cheerleader camp. Yes, it's none other than kicking the seat man himself, Ian Simmons. Hello, Ian. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, and I really do want to talk about this movie. So I hope I don't completely blow it here. So yeah, good to be here.
Well, I hope technology doesn't fight us too much tonight on this. But you're lucking out again. Last episode, which we're recording a double header, which again I appreciate, Mr. Ian Simmons. But last episode, between our technical difficulties, we talked about summer camp, and now tonight we are talking about cheerleader camp. But last episode, you didn't have to do the synopsis. I spared you, and guess what? You don't have to do it again for cheerleader camp because we have Angelique here, who hasn't been here for a little while, and I love her synopsis. So please, Angelique, summarize this film.
Cheerleader Camp is a movie. That's a full sentence.
Period.
Yes, period. No, it is the tale of what is it, a Lincoln Valley?
I think so. I don't know.
Yeah, Lincoln Valley Alligator cheerleading squad made up of assorted 30-somethings and Leaf Garrett going to a camp run by an unhinged former cheerleader, picking random cheer squads for the best of the best and the cheerleader queen that will then proceed to nationals. And then people start to die. And our head cheerleader, Allison, starts having nightmares, but she has a history of these nightmares. And then the movie takes a hard left. And it ends unsatisfactorily.
What?
I know,
what?
Shock.
No, what do you mean unsatisfactory? This is like the best ending of any movie ever.
Oh, this is going to be interesting.
Again, it's basically like they wanted to make a raunchy sex comedy with murders, and it's got Buck Cherry in it.
It's got you got Buck Cherry in here. You've got Terry Weigel in here before she went to her adult film career.
Yeah.
And you got Rebecca Ferrati, who was a model. She was in Playboy and a number of films. So I mean, you got your elements in here. Uh, and let's not forget, it's December, and we have a film that's a canon connection, folks.
Woohoo!
Ian, do you know what the canon connection is for this? Uh-oh. Is he with us?
I am.
Do
Can
you know what?
me?
Yep, we can hear you.
No.
Lucinda Dickey plays the mascot, Corey. She is from Breakin' 2, and Ninja 3 Domination.
Oh,
That's where I
she's
knew
the
her
little
from.
dancer girl.
Yes, she's the little dancer girl. Hence why during this film at one point, she does a little breakdance maneuver during the mascot competition.
Now it makes sense, because that's always been the most confusing portion of the mascot contest.
Oh, that was the most confusing portion.
I mean, the mascots are god awful regardless, but yeah.
Everything else. And hey, we got someone watching, and hopefully this plays out okay. Diggs, by the way, 7 says, "Hey, what's up? What's up?
What is up, indeed, Diggs?
What is
you're
up?
about to hear all about it.
You're supposed to hear about it." Cheerleader Camp, 1988. Yes. This is a film that has an identity crisis. In a wonderful way. It like you said, there's elements in here where it's raunchy standard 80s comedy, complete with white guys rapping, which is painful. Oh my god, so painful. And so you got those elements in here. You got some gratuitous nudity in here. And then you get these kills. You get this message about suicide in here. Because the first kill looks like a suicide. Like the main competition for our ladies of Lincoln College supposedly committed suicide. This is after the boyfriend of Allison hit on her. Yet I don't know what the relationship is between Allison and her boyfriend, but
it ain't good.
If you can even call him a boyfriend, Allison, wow, she should not be with this group. Yeah, and help me out here.
I'm trying. I mean, like,
Allison needs a grippy socks vacation.
It's a grippy sock.
Wow. No, look, we can't go further without pulling over to also recognize another Lori Griffin, who I had to pause the movie because I recognized her, but I couldn't peg from where. She played Pamela, the snobby object of Michael J. Fox's affection in Teen Wolf.
Yes.
3 years before this, playing a completely different type of character in this movie. She's kind of like the ditzy. She doesn't belong in this movie.
Oh no.
Oh no, he lagged.
Come back, Ian.
Are you there, Ian?
Okay. Let's
stay
see.
away from the light, Carol Ann. Come back.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Okay. Here's the deal. I don't want to hold up this show because I can never tell when I'm talking and when you can hear me. So I'm going to gracefully bow out. And
but I'm sorry. I don't know why why you and I don't seem to mix the last 2 weeks.
I don't know, but you guys have fun talking about cheerleader camp.
Try on your phone.
Try on your phone. There you go.
I'm using my phone.
It's okay. I understand, Ian. I'm sorry you can't share in what the technical gods seem to be against us lately. We'll have to work that out later. I do apologize because I'm sure you have some major opinions about this odd film. And he's lagging again. I don't get it.
Right.
Or I could just leave and then Ian could talk. We'll give it just a moment, folks.
Yeah, and if we need to reschedule, we can. That too.
But we've tried that before too. Yeah, we could reschedule.
Because I don't mind watching this one again, as much as it's terrible.
Ian, are you with us at all? He is not. He's not with us at all. We've lost Ian altogether.
And now he's really gone.
And now he's really gone.
Oh. Bummer town.
Well, you know what? I will work with Mr. Ian later.
Okay.
We'll figure something out with that. If anything, maybe we'll attach a recording of his opinions on it as well. So
that'll be fantastic.
So anyway, let's get back to the show. Ian had to drop out, unfortunately, with the technical difficulties, but we will try to get his opinions on it later. But yes, we have a number of recognizable faces in here. As he mentioned before he dropped out, Lori Griffin from Teen Wolf. We mentioned already Lucinda Dickey from both Break-In Films and Ninja 3 Domination. You have Betsy Russell in here, who's playing the Allison character, who reminded me a bit of our final girl from Nightmare on Elm Street, but as if she had taken some hallucinogenics and just never came down.
Well, she's nowhere near as strong as Nancy.
No, she isn't, but she had the look of Nancy, but she just had this look always like she was stoned.
Well, she was taking some pretty powerful anti-anxiety medication.
She was. And like I said, it's really with the Allison character where this film seems to have its identity crisis. Now, don't get me wrong. I had fun with this film because it's so
bizarre.
It is so extremely bizarre for a slasher film in general, much less 80s slasher film. It starts off with this Freddy Krueger ripoff dream sequence. Complete with her looking like Nancy, complete with claw marks all over her, and a laugh that is kind of like probably what Robert Englund sounded like before voice enhancement on Nightmare on Elm Street.
Sentient pom-poms made out of razor wire.
Sentient pom-poms made out of razor wire, which is kind of fitting because the original title of this film was actually Bloody Pom-Poms.
Bloody Pom-Poms, which is a great title.
It is a great title. I like that title better than Cheerleader Camp.
Yeah, although the cover of this one always transfixed me as a kid.
Oh, with the
skeleton.
Skeleton cheerleader, up in the air, cheerleading. Yeah, it there was the other one that came out before this. I think it was the horror comedy Student Bodies, which also had the cheerleader in a skeleton outfit, but she was in a classroom. She wasn't. The skeleton wasn't.
And Return to Horror High had one as well.
Yeah, Return to Horror High had one as well. So skeletons on the cover were common.
That's how they know how to get your girl.
But I mean, the film totally is totally ripping off. It's not even borrowing. It's ripping off Nightmare on Elm Street because you have her being plagued by nightmares. Mm-hmm. And in the nightmares, there's this character who's doing the killing. Okay. They imply for a while that it's her doing the killing, which would have been interesting had they carried on that idea. But
yeah, they kind of gave up on that.
It gives up on a number of ideas, though. I mean,
Yeah, it really does. I wish they had given up on some other ideas.
like which ones?
Um, the giant sex pest with the Sony Handycam with the everlasting battery.
Man, I tell you, folks, if you're not familiar at all with ancient technology of video cameras, this guy has a real early, well, not a real early because it was 88, but he has a video camera, a handy cam that, yeah, I never see him switch a battery like ever.
Or a tape.
Or a tape. He's just got this one tape. And so he's one of the members of the cheer squad. And he goes around videotaping everything. He's the videotaping guy, that cliche guy. The videotaping guy tends to also be the guy who is the most perverted as well. Is always chasing skirts, always peeping Tom people. It's just if you're a video camera guy in the 80s in a horror movie, you're the perv of the group. And you have the other guy who's trying to be the bro, but he barely looks it. He looks like someone's dad. He's
You mean Leif Garrett?
Yeah. Yes. He's trying to be Allison's boyfriend, kind of.
I was like, wait, no, he's not. He's just, again, he's chasing skirts.
Well, I that was one of those things where I'm like, I understand kind of what they were going for because it is the trope of she's with, the head male cheerleader, which there's only two in this squad. But he's their boyfriend, girlfriend, okay. But in like name only, you never feel any.
She's frigid because she's going through some issues, and he's got to get some somewhere, Mark.
Yeah, I know. And of course, he picks the Terry Weigel's character. Pamela is the one I think he chases, who also pursues as well. So it's a mutual chasing of these two want to hook up badly. You never really get any chemistry between him and Allison at all. Allison's too busy falling asleep a lot and having nightmares, bizarre nightmares, which include her boyfriend. Oh my God. Angela, walk us through this dream sequence she has. This is the second one she has. The first dream sequence she had was the suicide of their competition's lead cheerleader, which ended up coming true. But then the second,
every time before a murder or right after a murder, they never get it right with the timing. She has a terrible dream in which the person that dies. And in this particular dream, she's already been pissed off at Leif Garrett for flirting with everybody and not trying to understand her problems. And so she has a dream in which all of the mascots, the sheriff, the camp cook, and the camp gardener, played by Buck Cherry, who's amazing, and I love him.
I love Buck Cherry and everything he does.
I know, he's just there. He's that dude. And so all of them are standing around, and they're chanting a cheer, do it again, harder, harder, as Leif Garrett and that's Terry Weigel, right?
Yeah.
Are engaging in some steamy coitus.
Yes.
In a barn? Is it a barn?
It's no, they're they're in a they're in one of the cabins on a bed.
Okay.
But the cabin isn't really furnished because they had to remove all the furniture for all the mascots and the sheriff to be in there and Buck Cherry to be in there cheering on the couple.
And the reason why the sheriff is there, I'll just interject this. The pervert actually recorded the head of the camp and the sheriff having sex, kind of like that scene in Porky's, but badly executed. But anyway, back to
very badly executed.
Yeah, back to this mess. Allison walks in the room and she's standing center, and her pom poms like fly into her hands, and she starts to cheer. Do it again, harder, harder. And then the mascots surround her, and they're all laughing and shaking pom poms, and she screams and she wakes up. And
Well, not at first. She doesn't.
she's very mad.
She doesn't scream at first. She is mad, but she's also cheering on the couple's coitus.
Yeah. But very sarcastically.
But well, yeah, very sarcastic. I mean, very angrily, like, yeah, do it hard. And you're just like, what is going on? So that's another dream sequence. And she ends up in the cabin with the mascot, Corey,
Who just wants to be her friend.
who just wants to be her friend. And she knows what it's like, to have troubles, because she's just a mascot. So everybody kind of looks at her like, oh, you're not pretty and popular.
They really abuse her too.
They
like
do
the whole movie, they're just like,
her.
mascot.
You're just a mascot.
Get out of here, mascot.
Yeah. So she's bunked with her, so she's dealing with her psychosis while the other 3 cheerleaders are being all catty in the other cabin, I guess. And of course the 2 bros are
except for that
together.
Sweet blonde. She's so precious, and I love her. The ditzy one.
Yeah. No, she was the best character out of all of them. She at best, as in personality wise, she was the one that was the nicest out of all of them.
And in acting skills too. Kind
of. And acting skills. Yeah, she had kind of the most acting skills put forward. Again, this was early Terry Weigel, so there's a reason why she's in this film. It wasn't exactly for her acting skills. She was in there to be the because this is 80s horror, and we've made this comment throughout the year as we looked at these episodes. She's the eye candy, because you have that in the 80s horror. Even though
she's the boobs, and that's it.
She's the boobs. Yeah, she's the one. Her and the one who was who committed suicide, Susie, the actress who played her, were the ones that are willing to get naked. Because I don't think Betsy Russell.
No, she did not.
No, she did not get naked in this. So these are the actresses that voluntarily would say, yeah, we have no problems with nudity. And they're like, good, you're going to be in our horror movie. There you go. But what about my acting? You're going to be in our horror movie. Don't worry about it. Because again, this was the time period. And you mentioned, Ian mentioned it too, that, he tried to, they're all older. There's no way these are, I mean, at least they're college. At least they weren't playing off as high school.
Late college.
But these are like late college. These are career students. And yeah, it's just a hodgepodge. It's like you get the Freddy part, you get your cheerleader squad competition part, you get your sex comedy part.
Yeah, if you're Friday the 13th,
you get your Friday the 13th slasher part in here. And it just bounces between all these things. Like, it doesn't quite know what it wants to be. And you can't really rally around our heroes, quote unquote, the cheer squad we stick with, because they're awful.
Yeah, the squad treat each other like crap.
I mean, they're just awful as a cheer squad.
Yeah, that too.
Like this, they're in this competition and they think they're going to take the cheer squad. They're gonna dominate and win.
I mean, they have a sequence where it's the competition for the best cheer squad, and all of the other squads are so much better than them. Like, it's not even a Bring It On scenario where they all of a sudden rock out with like this bomb ass routine. No, they suck.
I
think Terry tanked it on purpose too.
Yeah, no, I get the feeling too that she tanked it on purpose. Well, Well, one of their squad members was missing, so they play it off as, "Oh, we don't have our squad member with us." So, they were thrown off by their routine. So they tried the new routine to where the boys rapped and introduced their squad mates, which isn't actually a new routine because that was a routine they practiced earlier.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's so bad. So bad. There was a lot of caucasity, I guess. in the
It is a very one-colored film. There is that
Yeah.
for sure.
There is
Well,
one cheerleader of color at this entire camp.
yeah, Rebecca Ferrari. She's in the group. She's the only
Oh,
one.
then there's two.
Then there's two. Yeah, there's two, but it's diversity, and we've talked about this as well throughout the year with the other 1988 films. Diversity was few and far between with these films.
I mean, 88 is the year we got what did that movie where the guy basically was in blackface for the whole film to get a college scholarship. Was that?
Oh yeah. The Man of Campus or something along that line.
Head of the class or something.
Yeah, I forgot which one you're talking about, but yeah.
Well,
the one where
but
it was definitely a product of its time, and that's a hard watch. Yeah, that one where he puts on a whole bunch of bronzer just so that he could get into an elite school because he can't get a scholarship because of his background. So they give out scholarship. They have a minority quota to fill at the campus. So yeah, that's oh man.
Yeah, just talking about it, I'm like, oh, why?
You just brought the. I'm just getting flashbacks now of that film. Thank you, Angelique. I'm having trouble.
I'm sorry.
It's Big Man on Campus.
No, Big Man on Campus is Bob Maluga.
Oh no, that was Bob Maluga. Yeah, that's right.
Which is a movie that is so dear to me. I love that movie so much.
Back to this movie because we don't want to talk about the problem.
We don't want to talk about good movies right now.
We don't want to talk good movies or even more problematic films. There's this one which has its own issues, but the kills. It's interesting because I like the kills in this. They happen. We see them after the fact,
except for Terry Weigels. That's done.
Except for Terry. Yeah, Terry Weigels is the only one we see on camera as it happened, and it was.
I mean, the practical effects were good. She takes garden shears to the back of the head, and they come out of her mouth, and it looked good. It looked really good.
It looked good. She sold it well because she's holding the clipper piece in her mouth, acting like this went through. But it looks decent. It's directed well. And yeah, it's kind of a brutal kill, and that's the one we get to actually witness. And of course, they throw in some red herrings in here that it could be Buck Cherry's character because not only is he the sketch groundskeeper, but he's a bit of a skirt watcher as well, for lack of a better term.
He's drunk for the whole movie.
He's drunk for pretty much the whole movie. Then there's the cook, who's even weirder, who we don't see that often, but doesn't have any problems wearing the tiara.
I think he was drunk too. Why not?
and wearing the necklace of the first girl that has her wrist slit.
And they hide the bodies. They don't like the sheriff is there, but they don't do anything because Miss Miss Tipton can't have any bad press. And she's drunk the whole movie too.
That was just weird. We're gonna hide the body because she didn't want to interrupt this all-important cheer squad competition, which has no press, no coverage. It's a bunch of
house party. They're paying to hang out at this weird lady's house and do cheerleading things. There's no schedule. There's no mandated practice. it's like they jump around for a second, they get into a tower, and then it's like, okay, we need a break, and then they go hang out in the creek that's full of these beautiful lounging rocks for 5 or 6 hours.
Yeah. I just, and the counselor doesn't even like all the squads. I mean, she's just,
Oh,
or
she
the
hated our
showrunner.
squad.
She
Like,
hated our hero squad.
well,
Yeah.
I mean, they did pull up just with a giant ass crack filling the passenger window of the van.
Well, yeah,
So
because
I wouldn't.
video guy did a mooning gimmick, which again, throwback to your 80s raunchy comedy. You know, but at the same time, you're right. There's no schedule. She says, "Oh, you showed up late." To what? Nothing
what?
seems to be
There's-
going on.
People are just hanging out, and a lot of the other squads seem to be taking this a lot more seriously than our squad
Yeah,
as well.
they're practicing. They're actually doing cheerleader moves. They're synchronized.
I mean, I was never a cheerleader. I was much too short and much too round to be a cheerleader in my time.
Sure.
You know, right now their cheerleading squads are much more inclusive, and that's fantastic because we like to jump around and dance and shake pom poms as well. But in my time, I was much too short and much too round to be a
Sure.
cheerleader, and where was I going with this? But I did do group activities. I was a Girl Scout
Oh, okay.
up until high school, and no matter what, we had a leader
Right.
who had a schedule and an agenda, and here's what we're going to do, and this and that. And from what I know of cheerleading squads, they have a leader too, at least an actual adult that that keeps the wheels turning. None of these squads seem to have that, so that's another just kind of odd thing.
Yeah, there's no chaperone. There's no
Yeah.
chaperone with any of these squads. Even in college, you had, like you said, you had the director of the cheerleading squad who was the veteran cheerleader, who usually was a cheerleader themselves, sometimes at the same college that, that's what we've seen in the past. And here you don't have that. But again, this is supposed to be a national competition and there's one person running it. You don't have a table for check-in. You don't have anything.
And the only judge of all of these competitions is biased completely and tanked on red wine.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but not only is she biased, but they have the voting thing. We're getting ahead here. So our cheer squad is horrible. There's no schedule. This is supposed to be a national. And here's the problem is they didn't need to. And I think that's the issue is, and again, don't get me wrong. I had fun because this is true B movie horror fodder. Don't get me wrong. I was highly entertained, but if you just scratch, not even beneath the surface, if you just touch it, you start to find the problems that they did
blow the dust off of the premise.
that they didn't need to do. They didn't need to make this a national cheerleader competition. It literally could have just been a camp for them to learn how to be better cheerleaders.
Yep.
That's all they had to do. But by them saying it's some national thing, you kind of set expectations only to have those expectations completely squashed when you're like, this is some backwater hick town run cheerleading competition. And I put it in quotes to keep the camp open.
And for what?
Yeah.
Mom? For what?
For what? Because we have Miss Tipton, who's running the camp poorly, who has relationship with the sheriff. And that's why they're able to get away with putting the girl who quote unquote committed suicide in the cooler with the meat, because I would just deal with her later. Which Allison finds, and she's already got PTSD and all kinds of other issues. So finding a dead girl, first she found the dead girl with her wrist slash. She finds the same girl in the meat locker later.
Can we stop for just a moment and go back to that very first dream sequence? Allison does have some issues because during that dream sequence, Her mother shuns her, her father shuns her, and then she screams, "I just want to be loved." And then the pom-poms attack. So
Yeah,
she's got some problems.
she's got abandonment issues for sure, which doesn't help with the boyfriend she has who abandons her every minute to try to get laid. Which that's not me being vulgar. He literally says he wants to get laid.
Yep. Both of the
Um,
male characters in our squad, that is their primary objective. They don't care about the cheerleading thing.
no,
Yeah.
they want to go to a school. They want to go and talk to women who don't know them, so that they can put
Which
up
helps, I guess.
which helps, I guess. Um, so that doesn't help our Allison character at all. You feel the thing is, you do feel they do a great job of making you feel sympathy for the Allison character, and they do play at it for a while that maybe she is the one killing it because we've seen that before.
Mhm.
The one who has the psychological problems, who's dreaming of the kills, is actually doing the kills. I mean, if she was the one that did it, it wouldn't surprise me, by the end of this film. But she's not. Spoiler. But they play at that angle well, and I thought they handled that well with her character as far as setting her up as possibly being the killer.
Yeah.
You know,
They did a good job with the red herrings. Because
yes.
I mean, the first time you watch this, and I was telling Ian, I for some reason I watch this one a couple of times a year. I
Oh,
just get a weird. It's like you crave like a weird sandwich. I get a craving like, you know what, I want to watch Cheerleader Camp, and I won't rest until I do, and then I watch it, and then I'm like, why do I do this to myself?
you're morbidly fascinated
Yeah,
because
it's like sometimes you get a peanut butter and pickle sandwich craving,
yeah,
and
and I think that's what helps make a film like this last as long as it does, because you're just fascinated. You find yourself drawn back to it because it is so different and weird. Then we get from Allison. We've got the other three characters who, in all honesty, the other ladies of this cheer squad outside of the the blonde, who is more bubbly and nice
Heather,
to
is that her name?
everybody. I think no, Bonnie.
Bonnie. Yeah.
Bonnie is the only other character that stands out. The other three female characters in this squad are interchangeable.
Mhm.
There is, am I wrong, Angelique? There is
No,
nothing to distinguish those other three. Like, I
no,
forgot
and
their
even their
names.
hairstyles are similar. It's and I mean there is a ton of excellent 80s hair in this movie, ladies and gentlemen. You've got the crimpy, crunchy perms. You've got the tall bangs with the one side swept back. You've got the high ponies. Oh, there's some good hair in this film.
Their Aquanet was a major part of their budget. Let's put
Yes.
it that way.
But
Aquanet and hair
you just
curlers.
I'm like, for a minute it's like, wait a minute, isn't that? No. But
Yeah.
no. Okay, no. The only time I could really tell them apart is when they were out at the lake lounging on the rocks, because that's bikini and that's blue bathing suit. So
But yeah, those other three, there was nothing. We don't stick with them long enough to really distinguish anything. The most we know is that the one character Terry Weigel's playing is chasing the boyfriend, quote unquote, again, of Allison, just to be catty. You think, but that again, this script doesn't know what it wants to be, because
she gets her chance.
she gets her chance to bed Allison's man, and that's all I'm going to call him throughout this whole
I
episode.
just
I
call him
apologize.
Leaf Garrett
Or Leaf Garrett.
because he's being Leaf Garrett. But yeah, she gets the chance, and then she's like, "Wait a minute, no, I don't want this just to be a one-time deal."
It's like, wait, where did this
I'm
come
like,
from?
honey, you were standing on his shoulders with no Spanx on and told
Yeah,
him to look up.
that's right. Because at one point during their practice, they're doing their routine. He lifts her up, where they actually kind of looked like a cheer squad at that routine. Yeah, and he looks up and she's not wearing anything. She's like, "Oh, I'm not looking up. Don't worry." And she's like, "Well, why aren't you?" And then he
And then he's
looks
like,
up.
oh,
Yeah,
it's like old Greg lifting his tutu, you know.
it's like, like what the hell, man? Brent was his name.
Oh well, that doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter. I like Allison's boyfriend better,
Yeah,
but he does act like a Brent.
but she's not that kind of girl in the end.
No, she's not that kind of girl. And again, you feel bad for Allison. One, because she's having these emotional issues. Two, nobody seems to be paying attention or care except for Corey, the mascot, which comes later on, and you're just like, well, that just makes Allison's character even more tragic at the end. You've got the three indistinguishable ladies in here. You got your two perv guys. It just, yeah, I don't know. But what's funny is where we get into the raunchy comedy, not only do you get the point where the counselor has this role-playing fantasy with the sheriff, where at one point she literally falls back on her bed with her legs spread, and I'm just like, wait, what? Did that actually? Wow, we're going all the way, and that's what the perv guy videotaped them.
Mm-hmm.
But just the other raunchy comedy part is at one point our guy dresses up. Timmy is his name.
Yeah.
He dresses up like a woman and hides in the bushes to film the ladies sunbathing topless.
Yeah, that was before the sex scene. That was like right after they got to camp. They looked at the other people practicing and said, "Well, we need a break," so they went to the lake.
Yeah, and then he dresses as in drag and tries to act like a female. Of course, they all know it's not. But it's just so random.
Like, dude, just no.
I guess the problem that I have with a character like this, and it's prevalent. It's not just this film in general. When they make a character like this, you sit there and go, why are they including him in this group regardless? Like, he's friends. Like, the next thing you know, after he's filming them topless and he's in drag, they're all yucking it up. I'm like,
I've tried to think about this because this kind of character is in a lot of 80s and early 90s movies, like just that guy who's I guess the pervert with a heart of gold, kind of. But I mean people like that, and I say people because there are ladies who are like this as well.
Yes.
Their hearts really aren't gold, because at the end of it, it's transactional. Yes, I'm friends with you, but only because I think I have a chance.
Right.
So
there's not really a point at all where you get the guy feeling this guy has a heart.
No, because he's even at the end when they're running and they're trying to find the Teresa or whatever her name is.
Yeah.
The one that got hit by the garden shears, he starts running, and then he's like, oh, wait a minute, here's a chance for me to make a video. And he starts making this, what seems like a heartfelt, sincere, hey, if you're watching this, I might be dead kind of deal. But then he starts joking around about a monster that needs unleashed, and he goes to take his Winky out of his cage and gets axed in the belly.
To take a pee. He turns around and takes a piss, which I will say, okay, for a camera guy that he is, while filming, he would not turn around to take a piss.
Well, he turned back around with it in his hand.
Oh, that's right.
That's when he took the axe.
That's right. And then
the belly.
He took the axe to the belly.
And I guess a clue about our killer is that all of the killings take place at a very low angle.
Yes, they do take place at a low angle. even the one killing that was off screen of Teresa, because it was Pamela they were looking for. Teresa went out, she gets killed off screen. We find her later, and we don't even see her kill. We get it in a flashback because Teresa goes looks for Pamela. We have this weird cheerleader competition thing going on. And then Timmy shows up with his hand all bloody. He just walks into the group with his hand all bloody. And then we get a flashback scene again of him to where he fell into the guts of Teresa, which looked really good, by the way.
Yeah.
And you're just like, wait, what? But he's walking around with the bloody hand. And then, yeah, he gets the axe. And yeah, the other the one showrunner, she gets a cleaver to the back, and that's when things ramp up to where she gets a cleaver in the back. Allison's tripping again.
She thinks she's cheating, but she's not.
She thinks she's the killer, especially when the counselor shows up with the cleaver in her back, and she grabs the cleaver going, oh no, I did. And then she's holding the cleaver and she's like, wait, did I do this? Is this reality or is this fantasy? Now, granted, I get the plane of the whole reality and fantasy thing, but you only get, if I'm recalling it, Angelique, one other time where they play at to where she walked in on reality, which was the wrist slit.
The mascot thing.
Oh, no, yeah, that's right. And the mascot
kind of has
thing.
A flashback.
Yeah.
Deja vu kind of deal.
But there's no sex going on. They're just they're just cheering. The flashback, the mascots are just cheering.
Yeah.
They aren't actually cheering anyone having sex, but yeah, you're right. So there is that, but they play at Allison not telling what reality is, which hinges on the Corey dun 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 reveal. Spoiler room, folks. Yes, Corey, the outcast, the one who gets picked on. Big surprise, is the one who's been orchestrating all of this to make Allison think she's the killer.
Why?
What'd you think of this reveal? It just
the first time I saw it, it really did take me kind of by surprise because there was so much going on and trying to keep track of all these different threads that ended in a ball of chaos, then all of a sudden, what? Why? What's your motivation? Why didn't you do this back at school? Did you have to wait for cheerleader camp to exact your revenge or whatever? I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't quite understand either why she waited this long, and the way she acts. Granted, they're trying to play her as the least person to suspect. Of
She's
course,
a sweetie. She's a sweetie in that sad alligator onesie.
But usually in a film like this, you maybe get a little bit of shade thrown towards that character's way before you throw in another red herring. And here it is so completely out of left field. You're like, okay.
Yeah, there was absolutely no indication at all. I mean, I guess looking back and the number of times I've watched this, when she's just like, you don't need your pills. I just want to be your friend.
Yeah,
it's a little sus, but that would be leaving Allison alone and not framing her and being like, now it's just you and me, Allison.
But I think part of that is the direction, is that it's trying to be subtle, but almost too subtle, with her being, oh, you don't need your pills anymore. You're like, okay, and I get it. Like they said, the first time to me, it caught me aback as well. But as you watch it more, you're like, okay, it felt like they were throwing this in just to be, because it could be anybody. The way they set it up, that anybody could be killing any of these kids. Though it is a bit sus that it was only the Lincoln College kids, outside of the one popular girl who got her wrist slit, which, maybe Corey threw that in there because so it would move Allison up on the popularity chain. That was the only.
Or
That's the
maybe
only.
keeping her boyfriend from flirting, or maybe making Allison look even more like a suspect. Because
That could be. Yeah.
she was flirting with my boyfriend.
Yep. Yep. You're right. That's probably why she did that with the popular girl. But it is a bit out of left field. But okay, so they do the reveal that's a bit out of left field. You're like, okay, you're trying to do the gotcha moment. You did get me. Okay, cool. But then how she goes about the rest of this is just so awkward. Like, Allison is now dazed, thinking she's the killer, but she convinces Allison that Allison's boyfriend is the killer and gives her a gun and convinces Allison, who apparently is a really good shot, to shoot her boyfriend, who he's about half a block away. She shoots him dead.
It's a very powerful revolver.
Right. So then, as we get to the end here, we did forget one death we got to talk about quick. The sheriff.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the sheriff's kill.
So the remainder of the kids run into a shed, and they make some Scooby-Doo contraption where a bear trap is hanging by a wire that gets triggered to fly down when the door is opened. And they're hiding, and they hear these footsteps, and the doorknob rattles, and it opens up, which, bad move, sheriff. You're supposed to announce yourself before you just open a door. But anyway.
Well, you're looking at a sheriff who was looking the other way when they hit a body of a suicide
I know.
college student in the freezer just so that he could
I
get
was
it
just
on
pretending that he could be a good cop, but yeah.
No, I get it.
But the bear trap flies and clamps down on his head, and he dies. And then they're like, "You killed the sheriff, Leaf Garrett," and he's like, "No."
He's like, "No, I didn't." We're like, "Well, you rigged the trap. It was your idea to do this for the killer." Which again is them trying to throw some red herrings out there. I get it.
Yeah, I'm just like, where and how the skill to
to say how this is a backwater town. I know that may sound bad, but it is, because all these murders went on. The other cheerleader squads got scared and ran off when the Lincoln folks announced, "Hey, there's a killer on the loose," and they all split, which I did love. Usually, I was figuring, oh, they're going to hang around and you're going to have more body count. No, everybody splits except our Lincoln College folks.
Well, they can't, because someone has cut all the wiring to the van.
Right. Just their van. So
yes.
You're like, okay. So at least they did that part, but it's one of those films that is just, you can't help but watch, because you're just like, where is this? What are you doing? And then you get to the end. Okay, the boyfriend gets shot. They manage to call the cops, and you're like, oh, okay. So they're going to play at Allison. You think it's going to be Allison was self-defense. Corey spins it that way, and Corey and Allison end up being friends, because you could play the angle that Corey all along was just trying to manipulate this so that she could get Allison to herself.
Mm-hmm.
It's set up that way, is it not? That it could go that way?
Completely. That's what you think, when all is said and done. Like, okay.
Okay, that's a creepy thing, but it's a horror thing. It's like, okay, I could see that. And now with Allison being kind of in this shock state, she's going to take care of Allison, and she gets to be, the alpha, if you will, female.
Right. She's not the mascot anymore. She's
the
head.
Right. She's got the head cheerleader. She's taking care of the head cheerleader. Therefore, she's actually better than the head cheerleader. That whole angle, you could have played that, but no. They don't. We cut away from her killing the boyfriend to suddenly we've got the cops and everything. It's the resolution shot. You've got the establishing shot, cops there. They're finding all the bodies. Okay. They start talking about Allison, and man, I can't believe she did this. And you're like, wait,
Wait a minute.
what?
Hmm?
Wait, what?
And Corey's just being a snitch.
And they go, well, you're the only testimony here, so
We're
yeah,
gonna take everything you say as actual factual.
you're the only person left here besides Allison, who's kind of spaced out right now. And we're taking your word that she killed everybody. And while they're taking Allison away, who suddenly comes out of her shocked state at the moment, going, wait, no, we were defending them together. Like, yeah, whatever. It's like they totally took Corey's confession as scripture. And then Corey starts doing this dance like she's the cheerleader. A very good one, in fact. They should have had her on the cheerleader.
Yes,
in all honesty.
she had some great moves, but so now what? She's the only cheerleader at cheerleader camp. She's the only person there. So
Yeah.
what was the point?
Right. What was the point of setting up Allison to get revenge on the fact that Allison was popular? Because Allison was nice to Corey. It's not like
There's got to be some deleted scenes. There's got to be
Ah.
something like, the beginning when Allison's mom and dad are shunning her. There had to have been like some car accident or something, and maybe she killed Corey's little sister or her parents or something, and she stalked Allison for all these years, and finally her revenge is come.
Yeah, because they don't even drop any history between these two. Allison seems perfectly fine with Corey. She's nice to Corey. She defends.
She's the only person that's nice to Corey.
She defends Corey, and so Corey's payback is, I'm setting you up for multiple homicide. It is so bizarre, the motivation of, well, the Corey moment is a gotcha. When you start thinking about it, you're like, why? Or like, okay, besides just trying to be out of left field, like, you didn't see Corey coming, did you? You're like, they don't even give you a lot of exposition from her of why, outside of her saying, well, I'm the popular one now. You're like, wait, your whole motivation was so that you would
be popular,
the top girl. That was,
but there's nobody there to be your friend. You killed everybody.
And also the big flaw into this, and I know it's bringing real world into it, but the way they play this out and taking her confession as the only thing is, I'm like, there are many witnesses that could corroborate that Allison was here when this person died here.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about because none of her squad was left, but the other third party, not invested people could have said,
the other squad's like, no, wait a minute, she was there, or I saw her come into her cabin and she didn't leave for X number of hours.
When Teresa gets killed, and it's like, no, Allison was here at the competition. How could Teresa have been killed and cut with her guts splayed out when that happened? It's like there's a couple of things that just would have thrown such a wrench in this works, but they act like, nope, she's already convicted. We're just going to send her to the psych ward.
Yeah, they inject her with some mess, and she's like, no, it was Corey.
Yeah, then she finally wakes up and goes, no. The film is bizarre. The practical effects look great. It is B horror movie. This, if anything epitomizes 80s horror, Cheerleader Camp should be one of those films that you look at going, this is 80s horror.
Yeah.
Everything from 80s horror up until this point is thrown into this film, bits and pieces here and there. And yeah, it's just this culmination of stuff that you can tell the film's trying to give, be different, but it tries way too hard.
It does. If they had settled on one premise, like,
yeah, I mean, it's one thing to try to buck tropes, I get it, but to use every trope that's come before to try to buck the trope, you defeat the purpose of what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like, wait a minute. I just have to think that the whole script was being rewritten every single day of shooting.
You're assuming there was a script. I almost get the feeling like they took this, like this was like shot from the hip, like they took a pitch idea and they just went from there.
There had to have been a script because of the camera guy's lines that
Oh yeah, you're right. There had
that
to be
had to be
some kind of
written.
script. Yeah, you're right. Some trivia here from the wonderful Ibididum is as we talked about already, this was supposed to be Bloody Pom Poms, which I like that title far better than Cheerleader Camp.
Yep.
Filmed in 24 days in October. Apparently, Leif Garrett played one of the mascots in the scenes where they're all costumed. The first scene was actually the last one shot, and it was shot at Bakersfield High School. So that dream sequence was the last thing that they shot.
Okay.
And in the scene where Miss Tipton and the sheriff get it on, a copy of Leif Garrett's 1978 album "Feel the Need" leaning against the top of the record player.
Wow.
And many of the extras were actually cheerleaders from the high school. So
wow. Okay, so people in the 80s looked like 30-year-olds.
Yeah, well, no, our squad was older, but all the actual cheerleaders were actual high schoolers. But you get that teased up hair look.
Yeah.
I mean, we had songs that warned us about this.
Yes.
She's only 17.
Yeah.
17. Anyway, don't think about those lyrics either, folks. Anyway,
no.
Or My Sharona, or
oh god.
Yeah, let's not go down that rabbit hole. But anyway, Cheerleader Camp. I'm so sorry Mr. Ian Simmons couldn't be with us because of technical difficulties. We will work this out. It's 2 weeks in a row, and I have no idea what's going on, but I will get to the core of it, hopefully, because I know he had some opinions about this film, but hopefully maybe he'll get a chance and we can tack on some comments from him later on. But Cheerleader Camp, final thought from you, Angelique, on this last film of the year that was the horror of 1988.
I mean, it's not a good movie, but it's a fun movie. It's really one that you're just going to want to put on in the background somewhere. Like if you're having a get together, you don't want people to sit down and actually pay attention.
Or you could just sit down, walk away, come back, and you won't be lost because there really hasn't been anything that happened outside of a kill and some comedic
it's not
gimmicks.
that long either.
No, it isn't.
It's a really kind of a short movie, but if you're going into this looking for something to write home about, you're not going to have it. I mean, you could write about some of the things we've talked about, but
of the horror of 1988 films that we covered this year, I would chalk this up, and I think Mr. Ian Simmons would probably agree. This is probably the most bizarre, if not one of the most bizarre, that we covered this entire year. It is the most probably incoherent one of them as well. So check out our other horror of 1988 episodes, folks, if you're wondering. We just scratched the surface because folks had voted on what horror movies from 1988, which there was a plethora of, by the way, we to cover. But that voting is done. That was done, and we listened to you. Your voices were heard, and those were the episodes we picked. This has been a fun series. I hope you've enjoyed us looking at the horror films of 1988. It's a very interesting one to see the wide variety of different horror that we got, that weren't just the mainstream ones that we covered. We covered some mainstream and some not, which was I was hoping to do. But next year is the 10th anniversary of when we first did our first episode of the Spoiler Room via Google Hangouts. That's how old the show is. Yes, folks, 10 years.
Wow, yeah.
So the special next year is a perfect 10, it's called, which we are looking at films that will be celebrating their 10th anniversary along with the Spoiler Room's 10th anniversary. So that will be our special series. We had a poll up for a good month and a half, and the results are in. Now, the only trouble with this is that there's kind of a tie. I've got 5 films, but only 2 of them could be our last 2 films. So, yeah. So before we read the rest, here, Angelique, 3, 6, 9. Yep. Okay. 3 of them. So we have 5. I've got 5 films. Only 3 of them can be our films. Okay. So
Okay.
like we've been doing this whole series, but this is going to be different because before, when you took a stab at it, what was going to be the next film the next month. We're doing a new series, and I'm just coming up with this right now, folks. So apologize. Idea popped into my head. So you're going to take a stab twice, but what you stab is what we're not going to cover.
Oh, so I'm eliminating just like the cheerleaders.
Yes, exactly. Just like in cheerleader camp, you are eliminating the competition here. So I have numbers, and I'm not going to tell you what the titles are. I just have numbers 1 through 5. Okay. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So what you need to do is take a stab at pick one number first and take a stab at that one.
All
1
right,
through
I'm
5. What number?
I'm gonna stab number 3.
Well, sorry, Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake. You're gone.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no, one of the seminal white tank top movies.
One of the seminal white tank top movies. All right. So now 1 through 4, you've killed the one, took a stab at Leatherface, said bye-bye, Miss Alba. See you in the next Fantastic
And we're not
Four
gonna
film.
we're not gonna get to talk about them saying skin disease.
You just did. So there you go.
I just did. So that's the
did.
best part of the whole movie.
Skin disease. And Jessica Alba in a white tank top. But
White tank top,
anyway,
yeah. Let's see. I am going to stab number 1.
Space, the final frontier, goes into the blackness as Star Trek Into the Darkness dies. You killed Star Trek Into the Darkness.
Aww.
So no Star Trek. So what that left was Carrie, the remake. Only Lovers Left Alive.
Yes.
And Snowpiercer. They survived your murder spree. So
I'm not disappointed.
No, it's a good list. So here is the list, folks, from 12 to 1. These are the top votes outside of the ones which Angelique had killed. So she killed your vote. So if you voted for one of those other 2, blame Angelique. No, just kidding.
I voted for one of those. So, I killed my own vote.
Well, you killed your own vote. So there you go. So as I mentioned, we've got Snowpiercer, Only Lovers Left Alive, Carrie, which are going to be fun discussions, Machete Kills, Upstream Color, Hansel and Gretel, Witch Hunters, Only God Forgives, which will be an interesting one considering my not so much love for Ryan Gosling. The Evil Dead remake, which I should get Mr. Derek Carey on.
Yeah. Oh, we need him for that.
Wolf of Wall Street, The Green Inferno, Oculus, Stoker, which is going to be a fun conversation. But the top one, and folks, we've been around long enough. There's nothing wrong with a revisit. The top one by a landslide is Under the Skin. So that's going to be the Spoiler Room's first ever revisit episode because we did Under the Skin a number of years ago, but it was a different crew than it is now. We'll see what happens if opinions have changed. We will still do it because you did vote on it. And I think I know a way we can spin this. So those are your 12 perfect 10 films that we will be covering next year that will be celebrating their 10th anniversary along with the spoiler room. So
Nice.
thank you, Angelique, for your help with that.
Oh, you're very welcome. I'm excited.
Thank you, everyone who voted. I appreciate seeing the votes. We used to, every time I posted, hey, there's still a poll out, people would vote. And I appreciate it very much to all our listeners and everything for this wonderful year. I hope you've enjoyed the horror of 1988. We do have one more camp film, the epitome of camp films, the most infamous of camp films, even more infamous than Friday the 13th, because this film has one of the most interesting endings of any film ever. So next week, our last film of the year and our last camp film will be Sleepaway Camp.
Dun dun dun.
Yeah, I can't wait to look at that one. But I hope the Perfect 10 listing wets your whistle. I'm working on a couple other possible special things. Plus, we will do, and I will actually be there, an anniversary episode the month that we did our first episode of the spoiler room. I'm just trying to figure out what we're going to be doing with that. So there's going to be a lot of things. So you're going to want to subscribe to us if you haven't on our Anchor FM channel or your other podcast feeds. But enough of me shilling. Angelique, licensed to shill, please shill away.
Oh my goodness. I don't have very much to shill except for just keep your eyes on monstersmadnessandmagic.com and check out the podcast. We've got a lot of fun new episodes that are going to be ringing in the new year.
Awesome stuff. And yes, check out Ian Simmons, Kicking the Seat. He does movie reviews, interviews, all kinds of things. He does written words, a lot more than mine, in a lot better, more coherent form. Before my wife gets to it, then she edits my, full disclosure, she edits my reviews most of the, which is helpful because she understands how my brain works. But check out Kicking the Seat as well. Kickseat.com is Mr. Ian's site, and it's also searching for Kicking the Seat on YouTube. You can find all kinds of wonderful things, including the conversation I was a part of, which didn't glitch out yesterday, where we talked about Avatar: The Way of Water. That was interesting for sure. So with that, folks, we will hope you all stay safe, have a great holiday, and would you say good night, everyone, and have some fun this weekend.
Yeah, good night, everybody. Stay safe and warm.
Yeah, and give Cheerleader Camp a present for Christmas. You can still bead ship that order.
Yeah.
And then that person will never talk to you again. And there you go.
Has it had a release? Because the only way I've been able to see it is on YouTube.
It has had a release. It's on streaming, so that I rented it. So so there's that. So okay, I've revealed too much already. Have a good night, all.
Good night.